Guys, look at this. So I'm in Fusion 360, and this is something I did a couple years ago, but I never really explained how to do it. And this video is about to change that. But I've got some parametric modeling going on with this like base cabinet. And yeah, so what I can do is I can go in here and I can change the number of drawers within this cabinet. So right now it's set to 4, but I could set it to 5 and it will automatically change and edit all of these drawers and make 5 of them. What's up, guys? My name is Tim. This is Casual Builds. I focus on creating casual content for casual woodworkers. And as I just mentioned, we're in Fusion 360 today. For this example, I'm going to make like a base cabinet, and I'm going to show you how you can adjust the number of drawers by just using a formula. We'll take a look at like the drawer height, the number of drawers, and we'll kind of all build it out so it can be customized per whatever space you're building this for. So without further ado, why don't we just dive right into it and let me show you how to do this. All right, so before we do anything, what I want to do is I want to go into modify up here and then go down to change parameters. So this is the area where we can kind of set all the constraints for the thing that we're building. So when you have this window open, you click on this plus sign, and then it gives you the ability to create a new user parameter. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to add in like the overall width and height and depth of the actual cabinet itself. For the box width, I'm going to just do 24 inches, press OK. I'm going to go back in here, create another one for the box height. And for that, I don't know, let's call it 36 inches. So then next I'm going to do the box depth, and we'll just do 24 inches as well to kind of make it like a square, a nice little square cabinet. All right, next one that I like to do is add in the thickness of the plywood that you're using. So for that, I'm going to do 0.75, 3/4 of an inch. And then add another one in for ply thickness, but this will be for the drawers. So we don't want to have like beefy drawers. We'll make them 1/2 of an inch this time. So 0.5, press OK. Add another one in. So when we're actually building out like the drawers themselves, we have to account for the drawer slides. And for that, I'll do slide thickness, and those are typically 1/2 an inch. So we'll add that in. The next one is I want to figure out like what is going to be the spacing between each one of the drawers in there. What's the spacing from the bottom? What's the spacing from the top? All of this will change based upon what you're building. But for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to do drawer spacing, and that will just be 1/2 an inch. I want to add in one for the number of drawers. So for that, we have this click on unit and change this from inches to no units. And to start, I'm just going to do 4 of them, 4 drawers. Next, we're going to do the drawer depth. This will probably just match like the length of the drawer slides that you get. So we'll do drawer depth, and you can set this to an actual like measurement, but I'm going to make the drawer depth be the actual like box depth. So we can actually reference a formula or a parameter that we've made in the past. So I'm going to have the box depth, and then I'm just going to do minus and then like 2 inches. Next one is the drawer width. This one's going to be a tricky one because the width of the drawer is going to be equal to the actual dimension of the actual cabinet itself. We have to account for the plywood thickness. We have to account for the slides and the spacing for that. And then we also have to account for how you're actually making the drawer. So the ones that I typically like to make are going to, I'll use pocket holes for the drawers. So then there'll be an extra plywood thickness and then the drawer width like in it as well. So this will actually be the box width. And we're going to minus plywood thickness, -2, or times 2 rather. And then slide thickness, and we're going to have 2 of those slides on either side as well. And then minus again, we're going to do the plywood thickness for the drawers themselves times 2. And then press OK. We need the drawer height. So we're going to adjust this later. And because like the height of the drawer is going to depend on how many drawers there are and what the spacing is in between each one of those drawers. So for the sake of right now, I'm just going to say that they're going to be 4 inches tall. So now what I'm going to do is I'm on the front view of this profile. There's nothing here yet, but I'm going to click on New Sketch. And I'm going to start off by pressing R for rectangle, and then I'm going to start in the middle spot right here. But as you can see, it's adjusting the actual rectangle that we're building. So this is where the parametric modeling comes into play. So I'm not going to just use whatever and type in measurements here. I'm going to reference all those parameters that we just made earlier. So the way that I'm going to make this is like the height of this right here is going to be the plywood thickness. We know that. Hit that, press enter, and then press tab to move to the other dimension. And I know that the width of this is going to be the box width. So once that's all set, I'm going to press enter and we're going to start off our first sketch. So I'm going to zoom out just so we can see the whole thing. And then now we're going to have to build out the sides for this sketch as well. So I'm going to press R, and all of these actually need to be connected to something within here. So if we scroll and kind of zoom in, I'm going to grab that first corner, which is going to be on top of that bottom shelf. Click. And then you'll see the same thing's going to happen again. So I know that the height right here is going to be box height, but the box height itself is the overall height of the cabinet. And since we have a plywood piece on the bottom and we're going to have a plywood piece on the top, then we're going to need to make sure that we're subtracting both of those. So the box height, and then I'm going to do minus plywood thickness times 2. So now when I adjust those parameters later, if I want to make the height, 38 inches, the whole thing will be 38 inches instead of just this one side. And then press tab to go to the next one. And then we know that that's going to be the plywood thickness. Cool. So we have one side of it. I'm going to repeat the same thing for the left side. All right. So I'm going to scroll up and we're going to just need to add the top shelf in. So I'm going to press R for rectangle, grab this corner over here. I'm going to do plywood thickness for this. Press enter, tab. And then the overall width is going to be box width. Press enter. So now I'm going to hit R for rectangle. And then we're going to go down to this inside corner because I want to add in a spot for the drawer slides. So down, click on this first corner in the inside corner there. Start dragging the square up. And then we'll know that the height is going to be the box height. And then you can see it kind of extends over it. Now we have to factor in the plywood thickness there. So I'm going to do minus plywood thickness times 2. And now the width of this is going to be the slide thickness, and then press enter. So now we're going to build our box inside there. I'm going to repeat the same process for the right side. So next I built in that drawer spacing of like what's going to be the spacing between each one of those drawers. And to start, I don't want any of the drawers to go below this area down here. So going inside the slide spacing, and then I'm going to draw another rectangle. The height of this one is going to be the drawer space, which we made earlier. And then I'm going to tab to go to the other one. And then I'm going to do the width. So the width, again, is going to be a little bit interesting where this width is going to be the box width, enter, minus plywood thickness times 2, minus the slide thickness times 2. So it should bring us inside that little area, and that looks good, and press enter. So I did realize that this looks a little short for the spacing, and this is the beauty of parametric modeling. So I can go back into modify, change parameters, and see what we wrote for the drawer space is 0.5, and I actually wanted this to be 1.5. So if we change that, you can see that it automatically adjusts. So the next thing is I want to start building out the drawers inside of this sketch. And then once we're all done with that, then we can start extruding things. Then I'll show you how to make like the duplication of the drawers pretty soon. So stay tuned. So now when I'm at the bottom, press R again for rectangle. And going into this inside corner, so this is where we're going to start the drawers. This is going to be the side of one of the drawers that's going to go all the way back to the end, and I'm going to do it for the other side, and then we'll have that front face right there as well. This parameter right here is going to be the drawer height, which we're going to adjust later. So press enter. And then for the thickness here, it's going to be the plywood thickness, but for the drawers. Press enter. Press R for rectangle again. Go into this little spot right here, and then we're going to do the same thing, but this is going to be for the full width of that drawer. So we know that the height is going to be drawer height. Press enter, and then tab and go to the next one. This should be the drawer width, which we've established before is going to be all of those things minus. So the drawer width is the 2 plywood edges on the side. It's going to be the drawer spacing. It's going to be the thickness of the drawer plywood. And that should all be good. Press enter. And then I just need to make it for the other side. And we're going to go in here, click on that little thing, the corner, do drawer height, enter. And then this is going to be the drawer plywood thickness. So we have the foundation for pretty much the cabinet. We're going to start extruding things, and then we can show you how we can adjust that formula for the drawer height to go up and adjust the drawer, the number of drawers and the drawer height, so we can adjust it later in the modeling. So I did just want to take a second and talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is actually myself, Casual Builds. I've been creating YouTube videos since 2019. I've been reliant on some affiliate links and YouTube AdSense revenue and all of that. And you guys have been amazing for kind of supporting me over those couple of years. I first just, I decided that it is time. It's time to launch your Patreon account. So that's what I have done. I've left a link in the video description below. I've started off with 3 different tiers. And what I plan to do within my Patreon account is just give you more updates on what I'm doing, some more behind the scenes work. So I plan on making more like woodworking plans. If you want to see that process, we can dive deeper into that. Maybe more 3D modeling stuff, because some of these videos just might not be suited for YouTube. So if you're willing to continue to support me, and anything that you could provide is going to be greatly appreciated, I will make sure that you will find value in your patronage. Thank you so much in advance, and let's get back to this thing, huh? All right, we're back into the sketch, and what we need to do is actually create the actual box. We need to take this sketch and turn it 3D. So in order to do that, I'm going to hit E, which brings up the extrude tool. And then I can kind of just like, I don't know, let's rotate this a little bit just so we can see. And what I'm going to do is just start off on the outside frame of the box. So in that little area, we can see here's one of the sides, and we're going to slide it back. But instead of just sliding, we already have a parameter set for that. So instead of just putting a random number there, we know that this is going to be the box, the depth. Cool. We're good there. When that's all done, just press enter. And when you do that, the sketch goes away. So in order to get that sketch back, we're going to hit that little drop down, and we're going to view for our sketches, and we're going to view that sketch back again. So I'm going to press E. I'm going to go to the other side, do that same thing, box depth, and then press enter. And then when we go to the top, this is the one thing to be aware of, and it kind of threw me for a loop. First time I was kind of working in Infusion, but when you click on that, we're going to do the same thing for box depth and press enter. But go over here to this little panel, and you'll see that the operation is join. So if you just leave this alone and press OK, it's going to combine that right and left side panel and the top and create kind of one component there. But we want to make sure that everything kind of has its own body. So then when we go to create cut lists in the future, everything's kind of separated, and it's easier to kind of manage from there. So when we do that, we'll go to operation, and then we're going to select new body instead and hit OK. And then we're going to do the same exact thing for the panel on the bottom. Click that. That's going to be box depth. We're going to go over here, change operation into new body, and press OK. So now, just to test things out and put a little pause, make sure that our parameters are working just fine, we're going to open this up, and we're going to say, all right, let's go and change the box width. And let's say we want that to be 30 inches instead. Press 30. See, that didn't work out well. It looks like the top panel, that bottom one didn't match. And that's a good thing to note. So 25. So it's just moving that top one. All right. So I'm going to put a pause on this. I'm going to figure out what happened, and we'll be right back, and I'll tell you exactly what went wrong. All right. I think I figured it out. So I'll tell you in a second, but I just want to make sure that we are good. Let me adjust this. Scroll over here. So the box width is at 24. Let me go ahead and change that to 30. Cool. Moves around. Why don't we change the height? Make that 40. Cool. That works. Move that back to 36. And the depth, we'll change that to 20. Sweet. That moves. All right. So we're in business. So what actually happened was that I was in the sketch, and you see all these measurement things that were all over the place. I just thought it was a little too like confusing, and it was just, I don't know, I wanted to delete them. So when I deleted them, it removed some of the constraints that we made before. So you can actually, if you want, if these are getting in the way, click them and move them out of the way, just so you can see your sketch a little bit better. But as I was going through, I deleted some stuff that caused that to not work. Cool. So now that we have this part made and we know that it works, why don't we dive into this drawer down here and start creating that. So the process is pretty much the same thing that we did before for the box. So I'm going to press E for extrude, and I'm going to select this little part. We know that that's going to be the drawer that's going back. So drawer depth, press enter. We're good there. Go to the other side, press E, select it. Drawer depth, we're good there. And then I'm going to select this front face. Oops. I'm going to press E, press to select this front face. And we know that this is not going to be drawer depth. It's going to be the actual thickness of the drawer. Press enter. But then we know because these two things are touching over here on this extrude kind of panel, the operation is set to join. We're just going to change that to new body. Press OK. There we go. So we are missing kind of that back panel. I'm sure there's a few different ways that we can go about doing this, but what I typically do is I'm going to just take this model, I'm going to rotate it, and we're going to go around to the back. And then I'm going to basically create a new sketch, but on the plane of the end of this plywood panel. I'm just going to rotate it just a little bit so we can see it a little better. I'm going to hide this original sketch that we did. And then I'm going to go back up here, create new sketch, and I'm just going to select the end of that drawer right there. So it's going to open up this, press R for rectangle. Let's zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to grab this corner of the actual drawer, bring it on out. The height is going to be drawer height, and the width is going to be the drawer width. Press OK. And then again, just kind of rotate it just so we can see. Press E for extrude, click this, and then we're going to, because this arrow is pointing this way, if we put in the plywood thickness, it's going to go back, but we actually want it to go back in, which means that we have to do negative drawer plywood thickness. Press OK. And then again, operation, change that to new body and press OK as well. Cool. So we have the foundation for the box. So the next step, what we really need to do is basically extend this up to create those additional drawers. And then we need to adjust the drawer height so it changes based upon the number of drawers that we've added to this cabinet. The one thing that we have not been focusing on is all of these bodies that exist in the browser on the left-hand side over here. Like, we just know that, body one's that first side. It may make sense to you as you're kind of building out your project to rename these. And I personally don't know. And if you do know, please let me know in the comments what the difference is between creating a body and then taking that body and then turning it into a component. That is still something that I need to figure out, and not something that we'll cover in this video. So the next step, like I mentioned, is that we need to kind of create all of those drawers based upon the one that we've made. So if we look at body 5 through 8, we know that that's for the drawer. And additionally, depending upon how you're making your drawers, we didn't make a bottom to it. We didn't make a face frame for it as well. But this video is really just to show you how you can use that parametric modeling to adjust all of that and hopefully give you the inspiration to make something of your own based upon the knowledge and information that I've shared in this video. So if we select all of these bodies, what we're going to do is, I believe it's under create, and then we're going to scroll down to where it says pattern. And then from there, we're going to choose rectangular pattern. And then we'll open up this little diagram on the right-hand side. And ultimately what we're doing is we're creating a pattern of the thing that we've built. So the first thing we have is the objects that are selected, which we've already done. The next thing that we have to do is choose the axes or axis. And what we'll do for that is I'm going to select this front edge because we just know that it's going to go up rather than like left or right or back and forth, whatever. So I'm going to select that. And now you can see it's got these little arrows. So just to show you, if I select this down arrow and slide it up, it's starting to build the additional boxes and drawers that we have in here. So I know that the quantity is set to 3, but remember we've already made kind of a parameter for this, and it's going to be number of drawers, which is equal to what we set in there. And that's ultimately what we're going to change in the parametric modeling area to change the total number of drawers that we have. The one thing that we did not set is going to be the distance. And this is something that kind of tricked me a little bit to figuring out, but I have, played around with this, so I know it's going to work. And it's going to obviously adjust on what you're building. So for the distance, we're going to go over here and we're going to change this and kind of make our own formula based upon how far we're going to go within each one of them. So I know that if we just put box height in, this will give us a sense for, all right, so now we have to, because it's going down, we have to do negative box height. And it's going to bring it all the way up. So if we scroll out a little bit and we adjust this, we see that it's going above the cabinet, which is something that we do not want because it's taking a look at the box height, but it's like factoring in from the top of this cabinet. This drawer. So we basically have to subtract all of that to bring it to where we want to fit within the box. So we have to do negative box height, but that's a place to start. Everything else needs to be in addition to. So for example, if we do plus, and then I'm going to do like the drawer height, it's going to bring it down a little bit. And then I'm going to do plus, and then we'll do factoring the 2 plywood edges for the top and the bottom. So plus plywood thickness times 2 brings it down a little bit more. And then we're going to do plus, and then we're going to do the actual spacing for the drawers. So the drawer space. And then we're going to do times 2 for that as well. And then that should give us kind of where that top level is. So if we know that the drawer space, and we can go in here and zoom in, just double check. So the bottom one, which we've set, so if we press I for inspect, I'm going to grab one of the edges and I'm going to grab the edge in the bottom. And then over here on the right-hand side, it should tell us that the distance between the two is 1.5 inches. So if we close that, I for inspect again, let's go to the top and just see what that is too. Click on that front edge for both. That's 1.5. So we know that that is the right formula, and that's ultimately the container for where the drawers are going to live. So now if we go in here, back into the parametric modeling tool. So to get there, it's modify and then change parameters and then go over here. So if we change the number of drawers, and let's say we do 6, it will all kind of fit within that space that we allotted to for the top spacing and the bottom spacing as well. The only problem here, and the last thing that we need to do, is if we put in like 12, for example, it's not going to work right because we have not set the overall drawer height to what it should be based upon the number of drawers that are in there. And that is what we're going to do right now. And I've played around with this for a little bit, so I have written it down. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through what that is, and I'll slide this on over so we can see the entire thing as I write it out. But we're going to go into the drawer height, change that from 4, and the formula is going to be, I'm going to do a double open parentheses because we have to do some math here, some formulaic equations. But double parentheses, and we're going to take the box height. So we have to reference how big is the actual box, because what we want to do is if we change the box height all the way up to like 45 inches, then it should keep everything aligned and the spacing should be between the drawers all of the same, and it shouldn't change based on that. We're going to take the box height, we're going to minus the plywood thickness times 2, and then we're also going to minus the drawer spacing. Okay. Close out that parentheses. And then from there, we're going to minus the drawer spacing again, and then times that by the number of drawers. We're going to close that out, and we're going to divide that by the number of drawers. Close that out again. So if we did everything correctly, which we should, because I wrote this down earlier. So if we take the number of drawers, let me slide this in so we can see it better. Take the number of drawers, and let's say we do make this 10, then all of those drawer heights should adjust based upon the number, the height. should adjust based upon the number of drawers and the overall constraints of the box itself. So let's zoom out and let's change the overall height of this to 50. And we'll see that the 10 drawers still remain, but then the overall height of the drawers has increased because we're factoring in the spacing. And all of that spacing should be relatively the same. It should be 1.5 inches between everything. And then, I don't know, why don't we change the width of the box to 50 as well? And there you go. So that should hopefully give you a little bit of guidance on how to create something like that, where we adjust the number of drawers and have everything be constrained from those parameters that we set, adjust the total number of drawers that we can make. Everything that you're going to make in here is different. This is more so just to give you an idea of how to do it. If you found this video helpful and you've stayed to the end, thank you so much. Please subscribe if you're not already. It really helps me, helps the channel grow, helps get my content out to others. And if you found value in this video, I'd really appreciate that thumbs up. Thank you so much. And if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. Head to my Patreon page, and I'll see you in the next one.